Hey everybody, this is Kristen, and I've got our Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt clue number 3 with me today. And I've got size small for my quilt, so sometimes you're gonna, sometimes you're gonna have slightly different clues if you have a small versus the large. So just keep that in mind. I think last month they were very different and we had some folks who were confused. So what I have might not be what you have. All right, so with that being said, the included pieces are listed as always. There's the how to get a scant 1/4 inch seam, and all of the directions are on the back. So really important, make sure you have that. We also got another block of the month with coloring card in our package, and I like to keep everything in this little sleeve that it comes in, and that way I know what month has what clues, and it's going to be easier for me to get done at the end. So that's what we have for paperwork in this month's box. Make sure that when you're getting ready to do your puzzle quilts, you have this chart, color chart, whatever you want to call it. This should have been in your first months, and it's got 1 through 6. So when it says put a fabric 1 with a fabric 3, you know what they're talking about. So definitely make sure you've got this. One new thing that they've got this month is if you have any oopses with the fabric that was cut for you, you can go on Cotton Cuts. I should have kept this out. They have their own page on the Cotton Cuts website now. So it's cottoncuts.com/pmq-support, and I'll put that in the box below. So instead of commenting on Facebook and hoping that Kim sees it, you can go on and get a direct link to the support team. So that's pretty awesome. Right, so what did I make this month? So this month we have 2 of these. So you've got a 1/4 square triangle or an hourglass block, 1 long strip, and 2 of these half square triangle blocks. So that's 1, and then the other one is a giant half square triangle and then another strip. So I'll be putting all these together today. The one thing that I won't be doing is adding this strip on my large half square triangle because it's 1/8 of an inch too short. I was pinning it and I went, that's not running, or that's not coming up right, and measured it, and guess I'm going to be contacting the support team, so that's all right. It happens, you know, could happen to anybody, and it's, you know, human error. It's all good. So I'll just be contacting them, and I'm sure I'll get that out pretty quickly. What else? If y'all want to sew along with me, stand by and I'll be sewing up my clues and showing you how I do it. If you just kind of wanted to see what I got this month for my Foxtrot colorway, you know, leave me a comment, question, comment, concern, all that kind of good stuff down in the boxes below. I'd love to hear from you guys. So I have 2 suggestions from all my viewers this month. So like last month's, you know, if you drop me a comment with a tip or trick, I'll do a shout out. And there was 2 that I thought were kind of, you know, worth mentioning. There's a lot of good ones, but 2 that definitely pertain to what I was talking about last month. And the first one comes from Stephanie 1971A. And so I always use a leader for my fabric so it doesn't eat, the needle doesn't eat up my pretty stuff. So what Stephanie was suggesting is that I do my leader, the rest of my fabric, and then I do an ender and just snip the threads between the ender and my last piece that I made. And that way I'm not pulling all the thread out just to put a new leader in. So I'll show you guys, but I thought that was a really great way to save some thread, but still have that leader started. So that was one of them. And then I really hope I'm not butchering your name, and if I am, I'm really sorry. Jet, T-J-E-T. They were suggesting that when you're making flying geese, you look at the goose. So you've got that backing fabric, and then you attach it to the goose, which you want to look at the part that has the point. And that way when you're sewing across, you're right at or just above the intersection where those two sew lines come in. So that I thought was a really great idea, and that way you're making sure you're not losing your points on your geese. So if I have any more that come up, I'll definitely show you how to do that, because I thought that was a great idea. So those are my 2 tips or tricks from this month. If you have another one, definitely drop me a line. You know, I appreciate it. I learn a lot from you guys, and hopefully I can pass some of that on to my other viewers. So subscribe if you haven't yet. And I know that there's like, Yvette's channel has #jellybean for all of her viewers. So I'm thinking, I'm a little late to the game, but I'm thinking, you know, we should have one. So if you've got an idea, drop that in the comments below. I mean, #Ranger. I don't know. What do you think? Give me a hashtag, and that way when we're, you know, on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, you know, we can all be like, hey, we watch the same person. So give me that ideas. Subscribe, hit the notification button so that you know when I'm posting new videos, and give me a thumbs up. That definitely helps keep my videos higher up so people can find me a bit easier. So if you can do that, I would very much appreciate it. And for everybody that wants to sew along with me, let's get started. All right, so I'm gonna do something a little bit different this month. I'm gonna pin mine, and then we're going to chain piece. So it's gonna speed it up a little bit. So step 1 says join a 7 1/4 square triangle to another one. So this is my fabric 1, and this is my fabric 5, one of my 2 oranges. So I'm going to attach them. Let's see if I can show you. So the way that the pattern has it, as you can see that, so my long ends are here, and then you're going to essentially have to imagine that I've got a white, and then it's going to be, for me, a blue. So another 1 and another 3 eventually are going to join. So I'm going to match up those edges as best I can, trying to make sure that I don't have overlap on one side and then too short on the other. And I'm just going to pin, pin, pin. One suggestion that I think it was last month, one of you, and I forget who it was, and I apologize, one of you suggested that you can also glue like based instead of pinning. So if that's more your speed, that's definitely a great idea as well. Alright, so second part of that first pit is having a number 1, and then this is my number 3. And so we're going to, I just like to look at the directions and then make sure that they're lined up the same way. That's just how I do it. So 3 is going to be on the bottom, and your 1's going to be on your right hand side. So again, long edges on the outsides. So flip and pin, and then what's going to happen, I'm just going to sew these 2 pieces together and continue on with my chain piecing, just because that's how I'm going to do it today. And if that's not your speed and you want to go, you know, step 1 completely, step 2 completely, go for it. You know, that's not going to offend me whatsoever. I just like to chain piece. So, alright, 2 sections of number 1 are done. That's going to be my 1/4 square triangle when I'm all finished. So it's going to be this guy right here. And then you're going to add this longer piece. So that's essentially your steps 1 and 2. I'm going to go on to step 3, which is taking my little pieces for half square triangles. So this is number 1. And I'm going to do it with my number 5. So let me get my orange piece out first. Alright, so number 1 and my number 5, and I'm going to make them half square triangles. So you put those long edges together. So long edges together, and just like last month, I always like to draw my scant 1/4 inch seam, and that way I won't screw it up, at least too badly, right? Pin, pin, pin. And then I'm going to do the same with the other pair. So this is going to be a 1 and a 3. It's going to make a half square triangle. So line them up carefully. Pin, pin, pin. And then when this is all said and done and I got my 1/4 square triangle put together, this piece, you're going to put the 2 half square triangles together, and then that's going to attach to my 1/4 square triangle. So I'm also going to make my giant 1/4 square triangle. So number 3 goes on top, which for me is this blue, and number 4 is my darker orange. So you're going to make giant 1/4 square triangle. So pin those together, and then we're going to get sewing. So like was mentioned when I started, I think it was Stephanie who suggested that I do a leader and an ender, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that today. And one thing that I decided to try, so I haven't done this before, so if it doesn't work, we'll find out together, but I've got, probably like most of you, a bunch of projects that I'm working on. So I am going to try to use my leader and my ender to put together part of that project. So we'll see how it works. Alright, everything is sewn together. I've got those ready and waiting, and right here is part of my upcoming project. So I'm going to hold my threads here so that they don't pull out. I've already got it set up here exactly where I want it. And I'm just going to start my seam, pull my pin, and continue on. So I've got my leader is all sewn together nice and pretty. And then I'm just going to start in on my fabric for the Puzzle Mystery Quilt. So I brought all my pieces over to my pressing mat, and I pressed to the dark side. So I've got my dark side up, press to set the seam, and then very gently, because remember we don't want to distort this at all, just kind of press it back and then set. So one thing, if you're pressing it too hard, you'll see your stitches right in this line here, and that's not pretty. So you want to make sure you just gently press that back, and it should look like this. So we're going to do the same thing with all of these. Press, hopefully get it open, there we go. Gently press back and set. So again, we're not going side to side, round, we're not doing any weird motions. We're just getting that fabric over and pressing to set. So when you're doing this, you know, just periodically check that seam, make sure you haven't over pressed it and you're not seeing your threads. So far so good. And I got the blue on this one, so I'm going to press it towards the blue. Some people press open. Since I don't know what the overall design is going to be, right now I'm just pressing to the dark, and I can always fiddle with it later. Alright, so we've got all of them pressed, and let's go back and finish sewing. Alright, back at the sewing machine. Now I'm going to finish up going back up to step 1. I've got my 2 pieces of my 1/4 square triangles. So you want to make sure that the white is going to be opposite. So I'll put my blue down, and then when I put the white, see, it's opposite. Nest your seams, which means that you're going to abut the two pieces here. Make sure that they touch, and they should just kind of join in there perfectly. If you do that, your points of your seam there is going to be a bit nicer. So make sure those are nice and together. And if you did it all right, and you got the right seams and the right press, you should have very little to no overlap right here where you can see anything. And same thing with the other side. So that's how I kind of gauge whether or not I actually did it right, especially with these pre-cut pieces. I, for the most part, know that they're right. So I got that set and ready to go, and then I'm going to put my two half square triangles together. So my number 1, let's do this where you can see it. Number 1's going to be on the top, so 1 and 5. And then this is my 1 and 3, so I'm going to make sure that that's on the bottom. So the 1 is touching my number 5. Last but not least, I'm going to put this rectangle, this number 1 rectangle, with my quarter square triangle. So make sure that color number 5, which again for me is this lighter orange, is up. Take this and put that right sides together, so pretty fabric together on the right hand side of your quarter square triangle. Like always, pin it to death if you're like me, or if you have another way of doing it, whatever is comfortable for you, go ahead and do that. Pin it, sew it, and then we'll put the half square triangle, the duo of half square triangles. By the end of this, I'm actually going to have quite a few pieces for my project done, which is exciting. I'm pretty happy that I had that suggestion. Thank you again, Stephanie. Okay. Clip the thread, press it, and I'll be right back to put this with my half square triangle. Okay, these pieces are together. Now I'm going to add my half square triangles. What you want to make sure is your white touches your white, or whatever light fabric, whatever your number 1 is really. So make sure that those are the ones that are touching. And there we have it. We have one of these created and part of my other one. So I'm going to have another piece that goes on one of the sides here, and that's the one that I need to contact Cotton Cuts about. But knowing how good their customer service is, I'm not worried about getting it. And you're going to make 2 of each of those pieces. So I showed you the 2 that I already had done, and then we pretty much just made the other 2. And that's going to be your clue number 3. And as I was mentioning earlier, where did my little... Everything's going all over. There we are. So as I mentioned earlier, I always keep these plastic bags, and that's what I put my Puzzle Mystery clues in. So you'll see that I've got clue number 1 and clue number 2 are both in their respective bags. I'm going to do the same with clue number 3, and hopefully that helps me keep everything together for the end. Alright, So if anybody's got questions, comments, concerns, as always, drop me a line, subscribe, hit the notification button, and give me a like if you don't mind. Hopefully I will see you again next month, and for now I'm going to call it #Ranger, #TeamFoxtrot. Alright, hope everybody's doing well. I'll see you next time.